number 4 Florida State rallying to beat number 16 Duke 38-20. This was a definite Florida State football game like the one that I've been telling y'all about all the time, okay? Duke led this game 20-17 with Riley Leonard at quarterback in the third quarter. He goes down with an injury off a face mask and his ankle gets twisted up. 6:18 left in the third quarter. You bring in Henry Beelan, who I had said ain't it, but you bring him in and he's got the ball on the Florida State 11-yard line. 4 downs. You're inside the 5. You're on the 3. You can't do anything with it. Mike Elko doesn't elect to go get points and go up 23-17. They turn the ball over on downs, and you let Florida State and Jordan Travis drive the length of the field, 96 yards, taking just 6:18 off the clock into the fourth quarter for the go-ahead TD, and that was the backbreaker. That was it. Riley Leonard, though, was out there on one leg and was beating Florida State, okay? They were running the football effectively on that defense. He was making plays for them. He is the talisman. Him going out changes the complexion of a game that Tallahassee, well, I should say Florida State in Tallahassee should never have been behind. You should have never been behind. You end up scoring 38 points, but again, it's like that LSU game. You're not convincing me in the way that you're winning these football games. It's more like the other team lost it rather than you won it. I'm not going to rank you number 4 based on that, and I'm not going to dock you anymore, but the Associated Press team still thinks it, or I should say the Associated Press voters still think that you're the number 4 team in the country. No, I got you at 6 behind Washington. What I really need is for Oklahoma and Florida State to play a quarterfinal because I think they're about the same, right? And we get this thing into the Cheez-It Bowl last year, and you know that Florida State goes over Oklahoma's dead body to hand Oklahoma's first losing season in damn near 25 years. And I think they're about on par with each other right now. Washington, again, they're in the middle there, but I expect Ohio State and Michigan to figure that part out for us at 2 and 3. But this has just been a great year, and I would really love to see just this year those 2 teams in a quarterfinal matchup because I think it would show us which one is actually better as opposed to me just being the Oklahoma guy or just being the guy that doesn't like Florida State. Both of those are, by the way, right to do because we're just getting into the nitty-gritty part of the season. But for Florida State, getting that win was a big deal. 38-20 is a nice margin of victory, but also means you're the last remaining undefeated team in the ACC, which leads me to the stunner of the night for me, which was Virginia upsetting number 10 UNC 31-27. Okay? I came to this game after the Florida State game to demonstrate, yeah, not everybody goes on and does what Florida State did, which is win that game when they're supposed to. No, Virginia, who was absolutely bad, 1-5 going into Chapel Hill, decides to come on and get Tony Elliott not just the signature win in the ACC this year, but the signature win for school history at Virginia in the South's oldest rivalry. Virginia had never gone on the road and beaten a top 10 opponent, ever. They did that Saturday night. Outstanding job by the Cavaliers. And you know what? In a year where things have gone just bad for Virginia and they're hurting in a very real way, I feel so good for them because this is really what Tony Elliott came to Virginia to do. It was to win football games like this. And he was telling his players before the game started, hey, this is why you play the sport. This is why we work hard. This is what it's all about. Go out there, have a good time, let it go. And they did that. And they handed UNC their first loss of the season with their Heisman finalist at quarterback and Drake May. Outstanding for them. Real bad for UNC. Real bad. Real bad. Ooh, awful. I don't know that there's a worse loss. I don't think there's a worse loss for any of the top 10 teams or any team that's been in the top 10 so far. I don't think you're going to come back from that one, okay? A lot of reasons as to why. A, UNC, I thought, might be able to give Florida State a run for its money, and it still might, right? But it also just demonstrates, hey, ACC ain't as deep as we look, because I looked at this, and I said, okay, do Notre Dame wins and losses count toward ACC title tallies for, getting into the ACC championship game? And they do not. So that means right now we got Louisville and UNC battling to be the other representative in the ACC title game against Florida State. That means a team that lost to 1-5 Virginia and a team that lost to, I believe, 1-4 Pitt might be vying for spots in the ACC title game against an undefeated Florida State. Florida State looks like 2014 Florida State to me. They're going to walk through their schedule. They don't have a ranked opponent left on it. They're going to get in the ACC title game. They're going to win the ACC title. They're going to get in the college football playoff, and then Oregon is going to hand them their head. Or that's what happened in 2014, okay? I don't think this team has it against the number 1, number 2, number 3 teams in the country right now, and there's still that gap. For that matter, Oklahoma still has some things to do, although that win against Texas does more for me than Florida State beating LSU, all right? Because LSU ain't that good, okay? LSU's already got 2 losses. LSU barely beat Missouri, who, by the way, is in the midst of one of their best seasons since 2013, basically since their first year in the SEC. So the ACC is all on fire, but still got away, right? Florida State being undefeated, Oklahoma being undefeated in the Big 12, still got away. Big 10 is great. SEC is great. We're still going to find out just how good the rest of the Pac-12 can be along the way. But Duke's win against Clemson doesn't look that good anymore, especially with that loss to Florida State, and then Clemson losing to Miami in overtime. North Carolina, Louisville, and Miami all took awful losses. Virginia, Pitt, Georgia Tech, respectively. I can't look at Florida State and say your schedule has been that tough. It's just hard, especially now that we got that really bad loss for UNC to Virginia in Chapel Hill. The ACC for me might be the 5th best Power 5 conference, okay? If Florida State goes and wins it and goes undefeated, maybe they turn into Clemson. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what happens, right? They turned into Clemson 2016 and 2018, but I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it, and my rankings will reflect it, right? So again, just to recap there, I got Florida State at 6, and I dropped UNC to 18 because, well, I looked at how many spots I dropped UNC after losing to Virginia, and then I basically did the same math for USC and Utah because goodness me. And then I think we're going to get to figure this thing out as it keeps going on. So I'm not really that worried about my rankings or the AP's rankings, or for that matter, even the College Football Playoff Selection Committee's rankings coming up here in just over a week's time. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.